Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last game we're going to watch before we jump into the top 8. We're going to watch this game. I think this is going to be a really fun one. We've seen both of these players on stream. I think maybe not in consecutive games because the last game didn't have either of them, but both are Oldhim players. Let's jump into the last game of round 13 with Nick versus Nam. Both players playing Oldhim. The Oldhim mirror. Who will fatigue the other one?
Yeah, exactly.
Let us ask the question.
This is definitely going to be a match of incremental advantage and just grinding out value.
It could be, or it could be Entwine Earth fused into pushing a lot of damage.
I'm ready for the big Entwine Earth fused.
Could just be a bunch of, jammed down large attacks. Threatening, scary stuff.
I think this is, what, a 7 attack Entwine Earth? 5
I can't tell the color. The color is the tricky part because it could be a blue Entwine Earth. He could just have jammed this down as a blue. It is interesting. We did see Nam play earlier, and he just went constant, weapon attack. And so now he's playing and starting off with just a big ol' attack.
And both players have deep blue. Both players have the rotten old buckler. We have that Ragamuffin's hat. Maybe we see it activated again in this match. Maybe not as well.
So both of these players sitting at 10-2 going into this matchup. So really the winner of this matchup is feeling very comfortable at 11-2 into just moving on into top 8, and that's exactly where you want to be. So this is I don't want to say it's do or die, a must-win scenario, but you definitely want to win this game and just leave no doubt.
It's very crucial, to say the least.
Yes, you don't want to leave any doubt. I do believe that there are no undefeated players at this point. I mean, we looked at the standings, and
I think it's 100%.
There were 9 wins. Oh, look at this. Forcing the pitches.
Is that a double? Triple!
Forcing the pitches. So you don't have a turn next turn, and I'm just going to attack you with the hammer.
It's a very interesting way to push a little bit of damage through.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate draw. You don't want these all on the same turn.
No,
I think he pitched a 4th one.
I think he did.
He had 4 Winter's Bites. He's a man after my own heart. Look at this. He didn't even block with a card from hand. He just used the defense reaction effect.
Oh, man.
This game is going to last forever.
It is. It is.
This is incredible.
I know if you're Nick, you do draw the 4-card hand. You're like, what are the odds? What are the absolute odds that I get all 4 of these in the same hand?
I am floored by the variance of that draw.
What are the odds? Someone in chat do the math. So we have.
So we pass back over to Nick because every card was ripped from Nam's hand by the use of a non-attack that doesn't deal damage. And it's back over. He's going to pop his deep blue.
Pretty early deep blue, to be honest, which tells me that Nick is setting up for a big turn.
Maybe he has a Tear Asunder and he wants to pay for the Tear Asunder plus the attack.
Ooh, does he have a Tear Asunder?
This is one of those things where Tear Asunder is really hard to play. No, maybe it's just a big attack. And
is this an Evergreen?
Oh, he wants to get the fuse effect on Entwine Earth.
Entwine, yes.
Very interesting to use that early. You do see, like, for example, the Majestic I just mentioned. You do see, like, activations for that because it is very expensive. You basically have to have a 3 blue hand in order to pay for, like the Tear Asunder plus the big attack that gets on Tear Asunder, and usually that's 6 resources, so you use that on those turns. But this one is just Entwine Earth.
So we have a double block and a Oldhim activation, it looks like, using the 2 prevention. And we've seen this from Nam before. Very, very comfortable with just blocking things out, preventing the damage, playing the much slower game, where Nick is like just kind of throwing some heavier attacks. I think that is exactly what he was doing in the previous game that we watched him play as well.
And here he is throwing the quintessential Oldhim attack, Titan's Fist. Titan's Fist for 3.
Just it's hammer time. Throw it in that Titan's Fist.
I think it's easy to get kind of bogged down into trying to keep cards in hand that make this attack for 4, because 4 is such a good break point. But we've seen in this game that Nam has literally just been like, okay, whether it's 3, whether it's 4, it's still a card from your hand.
Yeah.
If I push damage now or if I push damage in 28 turns, it's still going to push some amount. Look at their deck sizes.
Yeah.
I feel like they both said, this is going to be a while. How many playables do I have? Okay, my deck is that large.
So here we have another big attack from Nick. I really like the difference in strategy here, where Nam's very, very, very comfortable just coming in with a hammer, and Nick's like, well, I'll meet your hammer with a really big attack here.
Yeah, this is the contrast of playstyles that we kind of saw in Nam's last game.
I think
and,
so.
Nam was able to pull out the victory in that one because he just got value out of the hammer and blocked out attacks.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out in this particular game. If it is the same, or if we see something different happen.
Pitched a Sotomara to play the Entwined Earth himself. Doesn't worry about the fuse effect because it looks like this one's a red, so it does attack for 6.
So Nick's checking his arsenal, possibly taking a look at his hand. I see a thump.
Yep.
I see.
Looks like that's a break ground and evergreen, and there's the defense reaction. The old Pulse of Eisenloft, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that is a Pulse of Eisenloft.
Is that?
In hand.
I'm just gonna say this. Is that a cold foil Pulse of Eisenloft?
I think it is a cold foil Pulse of Eisenloft.
That looks a little bit different. If he's just repping the cold foil Pulse, I just absolutely love that.
I love it as well. Not only is it a fantastic defense reaction, it's a very, very pretty card as well.
Even if it's not, good for him for the Pulse pickup.
We do have a defense reaction from Arsenal.
Yeah, Turn Timber Yellow comes out and stops the entirety of that attack, I believe.
That allowed Nick to keep a majority of his hand, possibly saving that Pulse for later, possibly, pitching it now and throwing in a thump.
This is a weird hand because you don't really want to play the thump. You don't really want to play a Pulse, obviously, because it's a defense reaction. And playing the evergreen from hand means it doesn't get the value. And so doing this makes a ton of sense. Maybe he arsenals the Pulse. Maybe he keeps it in hand for fuse effects and arsenals the thump to try and set it up with a buff.
That's actually a very interesting thing to think about. Which one does he arsenal?
I would arsenal the thump, and I would keep the Pulse in hand for
thump.
fusing. Yeah. I think this is the right call because the Pulse from hand is still just as valuable since it blocks 6.
And it can fuse either Earth cards or Ice cards as well.
Which could give you value, especially if you have a good fuse effect, like, I don't know, like a Glacial Footsteps in his hand there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one to fuse.
Except he is staring down a red Entangle that was fused, so it is going to nerf his next attack a little bit. And
yep.
Really, the Glacial here, it's kind of a bummer that he used the what was it, the Deep Blue so early, right? Because you'd want to try and smooth out your Glacial turn now that you have the guaranteed fuse on it.
And so, if this hits, like Steven said, it will nerf his next attack by a -2. And we do see the Pulse of Eisenloft.
Oh, and it is a cold foil. Look at him. Flexing on
really
everyone.
Nice,
Did
really
everyone
nice.
see the shine? Go back. Rewind it. Look at how pretty it is. So good.
And so here we see another just hammer attack coming in, blocking up with a mulch.
Yeah. He uses that Pulse as a defense reaction to try and stop some damage, trying to keep his life total super duper high. Maybe he's trying to also line up some of those big attacks. It's going to be very tough because, again, if your deck is the same size and you are trying to play a lot of these large attacks, you're pushing attacks, your opponent's blocking and using defense reactions and then getting value out of the weapon. You're going to need to find a way to dominate something or really get that life disparity on your side. And right now, he does have the life disparity for now, but he's looking at another Entangle.
Another Entangle. This looks like a blue Entangle. He did fuse this, so it is going to threaten another on-hit effect. And that could, possibly put a damper on any, attacking plans that Nick might have. Looking at Nick's hand, we do see 2 Glacial Footsteps.
Yeah, double Glacial sitting in hand. Probably a blue, and maybe the other one's not a blue. But if both are blue, then they're, you're content to pitch both or one of them away for late game.
I think he just took it.
Yeah, just taking it. Okay, so this is an interesting choice. Nam has gotten himself the life lead, and with the life lead, you can play Fatigue.
This is a fairly risky play, I think, by Nick. He's like
no,
saying,
he just
I'm
triple
going all
block
in on
for
this.
the Glacial, right? That's what he wants. I think you need the fuse here to really push it, but he can't quite get to the fuse effect because he just didn't have the resources. Had too many yellows, perhaps, or not enough blues. Double blocking and taking a little bit of damage does push that down. Oh, he's going to prevent some of it with a Weave Earth pitch.
Yep, using that Oldhim hero ability. I'm not. So we traded life a little bit, but not a lot. Not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to set up those Glacials to be really powerful, game finishers and or catching you up in that life total. But when you can't dominate it, your opponent has ways around it, especially if you're playing against Oldhim, who can pitch and prevent some damage.
And you're really comfortable just kind of like, using your resources to attack with your hammer, and then using the other cards to block out these really big attacks and really, really play for these, these late game scenarios. I love what's so interesting about the hammer here is it's coming in for just a little bit of damage, right? Not a lot of threatening life damage, but what it says, it's like you're going to take some damage, and we're going to get this life disparity, or you're going to lose cards from your hand, and I'm going to threaten the late game.
Oh, I love this pitch of the exposed to the elements. I can't quite tell what card he slammed down at first, but either way, he is playing a Snow Under. No fuse on the Snow Under. Looks like a yellow, perhaps, which would come in for
card?
6. Maybe you know what that is? That's an emerging avalanche.
I think it is an emerging avalanche.
It's an emerging avalanche that's going to give a slight buff, and he has an Arsenal Thump, and so he is trying to set up for a buffed Thump turn. And so whatever is thrown his way this time, he has to prioritize not losing too many cards so that he can play that Arsenal Thump with Dominate and with the Rip a Card effect.
Yeah, and I think that avalanche, I think it's a blue, but it's very hard to tell.
Oh my goodness, even if it's a blue, just any pump a little bit is great. And then if you precede that by playing the Chill to the Bone, it's going to give Frostbite tokens on hit as well. And so if you can pump this even more, you'd be happy, but it doesn't look like there's any card that can pump it more, which is unfortunate. There are some tricks that can come up his sleeve on Nam's side if he's got a defense reaction, if he's got, like some pitched defense reaction to prevent 2 off of an Earth card pitch.
Both players still have their Rotten Old Bucklers, which is something to consider when we're talking about dominant attacks.
He's choosing to pitch the Chill to the Bone and pitch there, so he has to pay the full amount. Looks like he didn't have enough, so he does just come across for 6 here, or sorry, 7 if it is a blue.
Yeah, it would be 7 if it's a blue. Once again, it's pretty hard to tell, but 7 Dominate, threatening that on-hit effect of taking a card from their hand is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's anywhere between 7 and 9. There was no way for Nam to have a perfect read that this was a Thump in Arsenal from a prior turn, but you can still gain enough of a read to understand. Oh, is he going to do one of my... Okay,
Ooh,
yes, the gadget play. At instant speed, he's going to go fetch the Summerwood Shelter from his graveyard.
That's pretty spicy.
So that he can prevent this completely, because that is an instant. He's going to play it immediately. So basically what he did here is he cracked at instant speed his Plume of Evergrowth, which allows you to go and get a card to your hand from your graveyard. He chooses the Summerwood Shelter, which blocks an additional, or which gives an additional 4 block to the 3 block, blocking 7 exactly.
What an amazing value play.
That is,
and completely shut down the Dominate.
Yes, that's exactly what he needed. That is such, oh my gosh, that's such a good play. Well done by him to see that line out.
And here we see this life disparity that we've seen in other matches when Nam is playing. He has this life lead, and he's still able to keep up all of this really, really good defensive strength. We have a pretty big turn here. We have an Earthlore Surge. If it's a red, it's a +5 to the next attack.
It's like that's a yellow Earthlore into a yellow Entangle.
So this is a pretty big Entangle. It's not an Entwined Entangle, but it's still coming in for, I believe, would it be like 10? Is it?
If it's a yellow Entangle, that would push 6, and then plus the 4 from Earthlore would push for 10. Yeah.
And so 10's still pretty good, but now I'm sitting here. His opponent's at 6. He's got a decent lead, and I would not be surprised if he's just comfortable just throwing a lot of cards, blocking it.
Yeah, at this point, you can very safely just cruise to the late game by blocking out and continually presenting 3 or 4 damage. Eventually, if you just get there, you just get to the point where they can't do anything, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's blocking 3, and he's Summerwooding.
Another Summerwood.
So blocks 3, 6, 9 plus the Summerwood Shelter to block all of it from Arsenal.
I mentioned this before, but I got to say it again. I have so much more respect now for the Summerwood Shelter, especially after we saw that Plume play. I think it's I've reevaluated my take on that card.
Summerwood Shelter in Arsenal. It's interesting going back to that turn. The Summerwood Shelter in Arsenal didn't get him enough block because it only adds 3, so it was only blocking 6 in that moment. So that was the only play that allowed him, unless he could somehow had a defense reaction. But now that we see it was an instant.
Does Nick have another Pulse of Eisenloft in his hand?
No, this is the one that cycled. His deck is so low that he's cycling. And look, compare it to Nam's deck. Nam is clearly going to survive fatigue from here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Nick here, you got to be sweating a little bit.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Nick. This is one of those scenarios where Nick trying to play the aggressive side of this matchup, and we saw this last time we saw Nam on. Playing the aggressive side matchup for this allows the defending Oldhim player to just play control, fatigue, and just win in the late game because you use all your threats.
He's playing an absolutely fantastic fatigue strategy here, and I think we're seeing just how powerful Oldhim can be utilizing this strategy, right? I mean, you can obviously throw these big haymaker attacks, but also you can just block a lot and use his hero ability to prevent the damage and just kind of get there with incremental advantage from your hammer, stripping cards one at a time from your opponent's hand and just, you know, building that late game value.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening here. It looks like Nick is perhaps down to about 10 or less cards.
Nick used up his buckler as well. Now I'm still sitting pretty happy with his own. Popping a deep blue on this turn, which means that we're probably going to see something a little bit more than a hammer swing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you can do where you just save up your big power turns to play stuff
really
like
big
this.
Turn.
You just want to play stuff like this. This is a
red thump.
A red thump that's coming in for 9 with dominate, and if it hits,
casual
discard
9
a card.
dominate.
You know, this is one of those moments where you wished that you would have arsenaled the cold foil Pulse of Eisenloft because that blocks 6.
Yeah.
But because it's in your hand, you can't actually play that in concert with something else.
He's basically forced to play this Pulse, right? You can't just block with anything else. It's coming in for 9 dominate, right? So if you block with just a 3-block card, you take enough to basically die.
You definitely.
So you just have to use this Pulse. And that's you're not happy, right? Because you're using
no,
the pulse.
You are happy because you're not dead. It's your only
that's
out.
True. That's true. Not happy to be not dead, but not happy that you can't block it all out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. This is crazy too because you're gonna play the pulse, pitch to pay the cost of the pulse. Then you're gonna discard a card from the Thumps effect as well.
Ouch.
So you're at a 1-card hand. So your next turn, if you have a blue, is pitch swing with Titan's Fist. If you don't have a blue, it's Arsenal and feel really bad.
Yeah, this is a very, very tough situation to be in for Nick here. Because he just keeps looking at that Pulse of Eisenloft. He's like, I got to do it.
This will drop him to 2 with this current setup. And dropping to 2 means that he would be in danger of any dominate effect going forward.
And those of you watching, maybe possibly new Flesh and Blood players or new to the game, dominate means that your opponent can only block with 1 card from hand.
That's correct.
And since that Pulse is a card in hand, even though it is a defense reaction, if he was to block with it, it would be the only one that he could block with.
That's right. In that defense reaction, or in the reaction step, and it looks like he is going to move directly to reactions. Pitch and Pulse, and maybe even pitch for the defense reaction effect to stop a little bit more, but I think he still takes 1 here and then discards that card, right?
Yeah.
So that drops him to 1 point of damage. He takes 1 point of damage, drops him to 4. Burns that last card because the discard effect on Thump.
Oh, and your deck's looking mighty thin here.
Yep.
Like, I don't know exactly how many cards, but just a handful.
Yes. Less than robust, as you would say.
Yeah, less than robust. A literal handful of cards.
Compare that to Nam's deck. Like, just the disparity there clearly shows you what you want to be doing if you're Nam.
And Nam is now like, okay, I'm at the point where I can start to set up for these big turns and just finally close out the game.
I mean, look at this. He's got 3 Strength of Sequoias in circulation. Is there a 4th Strength of Sequoia in hand?
That would be amazing.
Would we have the variance like perfection moment?
Oh, that would be amazing. Both players drawing a 4-card hand of the same card. So good.
It's 4 of a kind.
Yep.
We have 3 of a kind in this game, but now we're at 4 of a kind.
And now this hammer is coming in for
just a casual 3.
Yeah, but it's like very, very threatening 3 when you're at 4. Oh man, the Oldhim mirror is so interesting. It's so interesting to see how like these play styles and just how it pans out.
Well, it looks like unanimously the player that plays the control side of this matchup is able to get there. But I don't want to discredit the players. The players have been doing a fantastic job. And look, there's a Glacial.
Yeah, casual Glacial Footsteps. What color is this glacial? If it is, once again, if this is a red, it's coming in for 10, and then 9 and 8 for the yellow and blue, respectively. Still a decent chunk of damage. And, you know, if you're Nick here, you want to send this in, not as a last hurrah, but as a way to strip cards from Nom's hand to make it so he can't have as big of a turn with that Strength of Sequoia.
There's just no way to take enough from him, I think, to really affect this next turn, unless he just chooses to, and he did this last time we saw him. He just chose on a turn where he played Strength of Sequoia Seismic Surge to just say, oh, that's okay. You applied pressure. I'm going to pitch and just hit you with the weapon.
Yeah, it's very, very disciplined play from Nom throughout this entire game. He's like, you know, I'll lose a little bit of value from, you know, the Strength of Sequoia, but I'm okay with that.
Look at this block. Look how safe that is. He blocked with 2 cards from hand, the buckler, and then pitches an earth to prevent 2 more.
Yeah, just coming in
with the hammer.
He took
2 damage with that, and then just comfortable with the hammer, like we said.
Yeah, he could see his opponent's deck size. He could see his own deck size, and he's like, you know, I have a lot more resources than you do.
Credit to him for just knowing that he has the win and playing to the win if he can just block out and keep stealing cards.
Yeah, 100%. Like, just play safe, play very tempered, play very disciplined, and that's what he's doing.
I would love to see him play against like Breyer and see if he can do the exact same
100%.
strategy, or if he decides to change strategies and instead, you know, go after maybe some tempo plays.
I think that'd be fascinating, actually. Yeah.
Because if he chooses to play the same way, can he still do the same thing when he has to, you know, kind of play around arcane damage or dominated arrows from Lexi, that sort of stuff?
I think Nick's coming in with a hammer. Nom's very, very comfortable. Just like, I block it. It's like I have a ton of resources.
9 cards in circulation for Nick. He's got 5 in deck, 4 in hand.
And Nom's
hammer.
like, you know what? I'll throw my hammer at you.
Hammer for 3.
And
block.
We're gonna see a lot of these hammers in the last couple turns here.
Block with the Glacial for 3. Arsenal a card.
Leaves Nick with a 3-card hand, but the problem here is that every single card that Nick plays at this point is a card that he will not have in his deck anymore.
Yep, it's every card that he blocks with, same thing.
Yeah.
He's going to bleed it out 1 turn at a time is all it takes. Oh, look at this. Not even blocking it, taking 1.
I love this play, actually.
Pitching the Weave Earth to block 2 of the 3, taking 1, and saying, my deck will remain more robust than yours.
Yeah, I absolutely love this play. Using your life a little bit more as a resource.
So he can just jam a mulch, that's why.
That's a big mulch. Not fuse, I don't think, but I don't think it really matters in this situation.
It's coming either 8, 7, or 6, and so this is a 2-card block at minimum.
And he's just saying, like, yeah, you can survive this, but it's going to take away some cards in your hand, and that's what I want. I want you to just lose those cards in your hand.
Yeah, if you steal the cards now, then they don't cycle when you pitch them, and the game is over quicker because I will deck you out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like I deck you out, or you just die from damage. Either way, it's real bad.
Blocking the Winter's Bite that he pitched at the beginning of the game on the turn where he had 4 Winter's Bite in play.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Getting rid of that exposed to the elements alongside of a Break Ground, which is an Earth card to block 2.
It's very good that he played 3 of those Winter's Bites, so he didn't have all 4 of them come back around.
Yeah, have a 4-card hand that all blocks 2. Yeah,
yep.
You're not Breyer. You can't make those block 3.
Yep. And so we have Nick at 1, Nom at 7, and I mean, this is a turn where Nom could be like, okay, maybe I just want to close this out.
Terra
That's a good
Thunder
way to
into
do
weapon.
it.
Terra
That's a
Thunder
good way
into
to
weapon,
do it.
and there is a thump in the pitch zone, so that is
That
gonna
is game.
that's just gonna push it because of the dominate effect. He was already at 1, and so just taking dominate and closing it out that way. It's a perfect little way to end the game as the controlling side of that matchup. A really good showing for Nom, and I believe that's going to be enough to put him into the top 8 and guarantee him a spot in the top 8 playing for that grand prize, which we are going to jump to very soon because the top 8 players after this round have been decided and they're doing the draft. We're going to jump and see those top 8 matches. So go grab a snack, get comfortable, kick your legs up, and get ready because we're going to watch every top 8 game we can, and we're going to stick here all the way until we crown a winner.
It's going to be so exciting.
So get comfortable, and we'll see you back in a little bit.